मी तुम्हाला एकदा ग्रीन कलर मार्किंग
So, participants, sorry for the inconvenience, but expert will join us within 5 to 7 minutes. Till then, please stay here. So, good evening, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
So, are we geared up to begin?
Yes, yes, please.
Thank you. So, falling down 9 and getting up the 10, that is the real success. So, good evening to our esteemed member of Team Research Foundation of India, our distinguished subject expert, Dr. Kunal Soni, sir, and all dear participants. I'm Nikita Kandelwal, you are the program coordinator for the 7 days FDP Come training program on practical aspect of ICT tools and online teaching in current scenario. And the topic for today's session is outcome based education. And for this, Dr. Kunal Soni sir is here with us. So let's have a look on sir's achievement journey. Dr. Kunal Soni sir is an associate professor of finance and accounting at School of Management, GSFC University, Vadodara. He's having total of 10 years of experience in academics and 2.5 years of industrial experience. And its qualification includes BBA and MBA, Gujarat SET, PhD, Diploma in Foreign Exchange and Risk Management, Postgraduate Diploma in Research and Methodology, and BCom. Sir is having total of 26 publications in various reputable journals like Scopus, ABDC, UGC Care, Web of Science, etc., including a patent in Government of India under the Intellectual Property Right Act 1970, for which Sir had received a loyalty grant for his innovation in finance on the topic called Techno Innovation and Growth of Indian Share Market. With this, Sir has received 3 Best Research Paper Award in various international conferences organized by different academic institutions sponsored by UGC and AICTE, and also has been awarded with Best Faculty of Management Department at Parole Institute of Management, Parole University, Vadodara. Sir has been invited 130 plus times by various business schools, UGC, HRDCs, and research institutes across India as a part of the resource person and session chair on the various topics for research, data analysis tools and techniques using SPSS, MOS programming, R, Orange eViews, etc., Dimension AI, VOS, viewer, entrepreneurship skills, and all. Sir was awarded Sir was PhD guide since 2022 in Veer Namat, South Gujarat University, and as an external reviewer for the PhD scholars at Indus University, Ahmedabad, and Pandit Deen Dayal Petroleum University, Gandhinagar, Sabarmati University. Sir had attended more than 20 plus faculty development programs arranged by the IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Vishakhapatnam, Ministry of Human Resource Development, Barodara Management Association, and many more have been included in this list. He has presented more than 19 research papers at various national and international conferences across India and USA, along with 17 seminars and workshops. Sir is also a life member of Grand Academic Portal and Indian Society for Training and Development, ISTD Vadodara chapter. So with this, there are many more achievements which already have been included in Sir's achievement list. So without any further delay, let's start today's interesting education drive with Dr. Kunal Soni sir. So now I would request him to hold the platform or the footprint is yours. Please welcome.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Yeah, so good evening, all. Uh, so today the topic that we are going to discuss is outcome-based education. So just confirm the screen sharing first. Yeah, I hope it is visible.
Yes, it's upright visible.
Okay, thank you, madam. Okay, so outcome-based education, that we have to discuss today. So basically, outcome-based education is, the things that we are talking in terms of, skill development, the things that we are talking in terms of, you know, the employment generation activities through which we can fulfill the dreams of the students. We could meet up the expectations of the parents, and through which the overall development of the students can be possible with the increased earning potential. So that is where, when we talks about the outcome-based education, so ultimate outcome that every education system needs to provide, the expectations of the market, and according to which expectation, we have to frame our curricula into the fulfillment of this expectation. So that is the industry academic collaboration, which is also expected from the part of us. So lot many things that we have to discuss and we have to see. And one of the things of this is outcome-based education. So we have to discuss on this platform called outcome-based education. So this is, let's see the introduction part, right? When we are talking about outcome-based education, right? So we must need to understand that education philosophy, that always based on that each part of the education should be around the goals. Means every institute, every university should have their certain USPs, certain goals to be achieved, right? In terms of a lot we can see is vision and mission of the universities and institute. So we always have to abide and we always have to stick to the vision and mission of the universities. And according to the fulfillment of the university's vision and mission, we have to divert our efforts into that direction, right? So that is where education philosophy is going to play a pivotal role as far as the outcome-based education is concerned, because that goals, that vision, that mission will reflect the mindset of the universities and the educationalist who is working into that part, right? So that vision and mission basically should be aligned with the national education policy, that our country should have it, and we already have it, right? So according to that, we have to frame those parts. So unlike traditional education systems that focus on curriculum and time spent on topic, so days are gone that, we should only run the education system based on the classroom teaching learning process. We only take the lectures, and we have one handed delivery and other hand the students are on the receiver mode. So these are the days which has already been gone. Right now the time has come that outcome based education should be centered to the students. Student centric approach is much essential as far as outcome based education needs to be concerned. So when we are talking about student based education system, that we are basically focusing upon the skill development, skill enhancement, to have better delivery process, and through which the students can enhance their talent and they can have better outreach into the market as far as their placements are concerned after the completion of the degree. And at the same time, not only it is restricted up to their completion of the degree, but at the same time, if they want to go for the increased earning potential in terms of getting a hike on their salaries, or they want to promote on the higher position, so they should find themselves to be suitable, to prove on that parameters, right? So that they have to work on their skills, their knowledge, they have to work in the directions of improving their competencies. That's what I have said, that keep growing, keep updating whatever the new innovations, whatever new technological changes, that has been placed into the market. We must have to develop the approach in the minds of the students, so they should keep updated in terms of facing them or meeting them the expectations of the market, with real world success, right? Real world analysis. So that is where we have to see that, that traditional education has gone up, but out of this traditional education, we have to add some, more important things in terms of proving themselves to be more enhancing, more knowledgeable, and, earning potentiality. That should be our focus area. And that's why every part of the learning experience, right, whether it is apart from the curriculum design and instructional methods to assessment techniques. So when we are talking about outcome-based education, so we must have a synchronization approach in terms of, whatever curriculum that we are designing in the students. It should not be like that our universities and institute are carrying 10 to 15 years old syllabus, right? Because it is considered to be outdated. We are not updating our syllabus, and it simply, reflecting that if we are not getting updated from our side, then there is a question mark that how our students should be get updated in terms of their development, right? So we have to develop our curriculum in respect to the requirement of the market, in alignment of the market, and at the same time, whatever curriculum that we are designing, that should be real-time application needs to be assessed. We have to ensure that the real-time application of that curriculum, it is actually processing, it is actually happening, and that should be checked with real-time assessment techniques that we have to see to it, right? So that is called align with predefined outcomes that students are expected to demonstrate by the end of the learning journey, right? So at the end of the learning, we must have to see that whatever things that they have learned, that should be reflected into their performance. So now again, the days are gone that performance should already be reflected in terms of the marks, right? But we should also assign them real-time projects, practical work, some assignments, which they should be completely able to, develop certain models, fulfill certain a task which has been assigned in social science or management field. And they should be confident enough, during the entire process, and through which this confidence should be reflected into the real-time submissions that they are giving at the time of submission. That is where it is called outcome-based education, right? So real-time outcome needs to become, and through which the modern curriculum that we are designing, and to assess those model curriculum that they are going into right track or not, we also need to adopt certain assessment techniques which will help us to see the modification which is required, and according to that, we should proceed further as far as the journey of the learning is concerned, right? So that is where we have to keep updating. Approach should always be student-centric. As I already said, that students should be in our center point. It should be designed for the students. It should be designed not only by, but it should be designed with the students in terms of curriculum, and it should be designed for the students, right? So students should be at the center point. At no cost, the student should get sacrificed, or students should not get the attention as far as the outcome-based education is concerned in universities and institute, right? So our real-time approach should be related to the student-centric approach, and students should be our focused, target group. And according to that, whatever things that we are doing, it should be for the students. So focus is on mastery of content and skills. So here we are discussing about not only the classroom teaching and the marks assessment, but the focus should be on these, students in terms of mastering the content. So whatsoever content that we are trying to teach them according to the scenario and the expectations of the market, we should expect that students should learn it, earn it, and it should be digested into proper manner, so that whatever skills development is needed, and whenever they have to go for the real-time market applications for all the concept and content that they have learned in their schools and college durations, they would be able to align with the real-time task that they need to perform into the corporate life, and through which they can differentiate between the theories and the practicalities, right? So it has been said that the knowledge is not a power, but the real-time application of knowledge is going to consider to be power. So that is where, if we are able to, develop our product into this manner, I think we should consider that, we are on the right track, right? So that's why we have said over here that the focus should be on mastery of content and skills, rather than just focusing upon the completion of the syllabus. So syllabus completion is not the task of teachers, right, in today's era and universities, right? But we have to develop certain masteries and, skills, and demonstration of that skills and talent should be reflected with certain assessment techniques, right? So that is where empower educators to tailor their teaching methods. So whenever we are talking that, we should impart this knowledge into students' mind. We should download these things into minds of students. We should guide the students in this manner. But the question coming over here is, who will download these things? If any particular universities or institute faculties are not that much enhanced, capable, and guided in a manner it has to be, then how these things is possible, right? So that is where we also need to focus that, our teachers should be empowered, they should be properly trained, they should be properly guided, right? And if this is going to happen, right, then the real-time approach, the real-time goal needs to be achieved, right? So that is where every university and institute has to invest certain amounts in terms of the development and enhancement of the students and faculties. And most importantly, they have to start with the development of the faculties. And that is why in academics, UGC has approved certain courses, certain parameters, just like you are right now at faculty development program. So what is the purpose of, arranging such kind of programs by various universities, institute, you know, to enrich the knowledge of the faculties in terms of the real-time concept, whatever the new modifications, inventions which has been happened, to align the multiple professors groups on a common platform, and they would be allowed to share their knowledge, their experience, and that could be shareable among the multiple peoples in multiple areas. Once they will grab those things, they will also share with their colleagues at their locations of the jobs or wherever they have been employed, and at the same time they will try to incorporate those learnings experience in their real-time classroom teaching learning deliveries. It would be able to pass on to the students, and it is up to the mark. It is as per the industry. It is as per the modern era requirement. So that is where it should be, the empowered educators will able to achieve the goals of National Education Policy 2020, which will able to provide more outcomes in terms of outcome-based education by enhancing the teaching methods, into diverse students' needs. It will also help to foster a more adaptable and skill-oriented educational experience that prepares students for the demand of the workforce and society. So if the teachers have been developed into right track, if the teacher have been developed in a right manner, then they could be a creator of life for the thousands of students. So teacher has a power, right? So every university and institute needs to understand if their vision and mission is to provide outcome-based education. So the first and foremost priority for every education institute and university is to have their teachers to be more enhanced, more educated, more training-oriented approach, so that more and more outcomes can be achieved in terms of the real-time earnings and learnings. Right? So both things are important in life, learning and earning, and that always comes out from the outcome-based education. So what is the principle of outcome-based education? If we are talking about outcome-based education, so first is the clarity of focus, right? So outcome-based education emphasizes clear definition of the knowledge, skills, and competencies students should acquire. So whenever we are talking about outcome-based education, so this education should always achieve these parameters in terms of the syllabus, in terms of their delivery, and in terms of their output. That is knowledge, right? That should be able to enhance the knowledge of the students. They should also help the students to enhance their skills and competencies that should be acquired into real-time market application. And this kind of approach will help the educators to design the lessons and assessment that directly contribute to the outcome, right? We have already discussed this part, that curriculum should be designed as per the market and industry requirement. And market and industry always require the current and practical approach in terms of the curriculum designing. So we must adopt this part. And at the same time, whatever curriculum designing that we are adopting, we should also assess them into real-time application, right? So assessment is also needs to be done properly as far as outcome-based education is concerned. Then second is designing backwards, right? So in outcome-based education, the curriculum is developed by identifying the desired outcomes. So whenever we are designing certain curriculums, we also needs to provide outcomes of the education system. I hope as per the new education policy, right, we are developing course outcome and program outcomes. So here we are designing, curriculum. And at the same time, we are also ensuring that this curriculum should be able to achieve certain outcomes for the course. And this course outcome should also be aligned with the overall program, overall degree that we are running in our educational institutes and university. So that should be a synchronization process as far as the outcome-based education is concerned. So whatever curriculum that we are designing, we would be able to achieve certain goals, certain output, and that should be reflected into the program outcomes, right? So we should not be deviated from any of the parameters as far as the outcome-based education is concerned, right? So that is where we have to also have a keen line of difference and complete focus on it. Designing backwards. So in outcome-based education, the curriculum is developed by identifying, designing desired outcomes first, and then planning educational methods and assessment that will help students to achieve these objectives. So we have to see what exactly we are wanting, what exactly our goal is, and according to that, we also have to design certain methods and assessment that will help us to fulfill our objectives and goals in the coming future, right? So that is the responsibility of educators, universities, that they should work on it. They should have a proper brainstorming on it, and after that, they will be able to decide the right kind of platforms. High expectations. So obviously, whenever just remember the admission time process. Whenever we are running any courses, and whenever we are making our admission open at our universities and institute, so students are coming with their parents, or rather, parents are coming with their students to take the admission. They are here to come for the counseling of various courses with the expectations of, the job placements, and where the students are going to be placed in which industry and which courses providing which kind of education. So according to that, they should suggest, or we should suggest them the right kind of combination. So out of this, if you notice, one of the common queries that every parents is coming out, whenever they are coming at our universities and institute, so they are having one common expectations, right? Can anybody tell me what is this common expectations as far as admission counseling you are doing it? So what is the common expectations at the end of the course? What is their common expectation that they are asking?
Placement.
Placements, perfect. Right. So placements, right? So how the students would be able to sit in the placements, right? If the companies are coming to your campus, and if they have to sit for the placement interviews, and if they are failed to answer the basic concept and parameters of the companies that they are asking out of this curriculum that we have designing, so then it would be question mark to the institute and educational delivery system, how we are delivering it, how we are executing it. Right. If this scenario is happening, then every institute and universities of this kind, they have to have certain brainstorming why it is happening. What is the loopholes, where is the lacunas, right? And they have to work on it. They should have a comparative study with other institute. Hire some experts. Get the help of them in terms of not only for the educational purpose but for the administrative aspect also, and make your system to be more fruitful, so that the process time should get reduced and output will going to be improved. And that is where, if you are able to see this part into efficient manner, that institute and university will be able to provide the right kind of students, the right kind of talents in the market. And that's where you are able to achieve your ambitious goal as a part of your vision and mission. And if this is happening, this kind of universities and institutes are always having motivated students who are always try to achieve the mastery rather than just passing the courses. So that is where every university and institute should focus on, as far as their vision in terms of long term. And to achieve this vision in terms of long term, what is the current plan of actions, right? That should be reflected into the mission statements, right? And there should be certain pedagogy, certain USP that every education institute needs to set up, into the benchmarking, right? So that it will attract the students to be the part of your university and institute. But that should be relevant, expected to the market. It should not be out of the box, right? So that is where a high expectation needs to be set. But again, that expectation needs to be fulfilled by every education institute and university. It should not be like that you are talking in a blue moon, right? So when students are asking for the results, you are nowhere to provide the answers, right? So this kind of situation needs to be avoided. Expanded opportunities, right? So we have to recognize the students to learn at different paces. Obviously, if we are having a 60 or 70 students class, I hope that every students are not having the same capability, in terms of grabbing the concept. There are certain students who are very down. There are certain students who are very exponential in terms of their learning potentialities. So we must need to recognize those students who are, very good in terms of recognizing the things. And there are certain students who are not good in terms of recognizing the things. So we need to differentiate those students, and the delivery needs to be differentiated. We should take certain extra remedial classes for those students who are having, some problems in understanding certain concept. But we should not consider that everyone is at the common platform, but we should change our delivery as far as the students are, learning and ability is concerned. That is where the change in approach is much needed as far as to achieve the goal of outcome-based education, right? So if we will able to guide the weak students to into right manner, we would able to, catch them into the right platform, and we would help them to be on the track where other students are, right? So that is where we are helping the students in terms of their path, in terms of achieving their goals into the future. So this is also the responsibility of the faculties at every universities and institute. So that is where we also have to see to it. So designing curriculum and our learning outcomes, right? So what needs to be designed, and to design those curriculum, right, and to evaluate those curriculum effectiveness and efficiency. What are the tools, as far as the designing curriculum and learning outcomes to evaluate, right? So there are two things, right? We have to see the designing curriculum, and at the same time, what is the learning outcome that we have received out of this. So that is where we have to differentiate these two things, and how these two things needs to be achieved, that also we have to discuss, right? So today we will see this, how this things is going to happen. So firstly, choose a goal to be clear and precise. Your goal should be very clear, right? Your policy should be very clear. What you want is very clear, right? That should not be deviation in between what is you are expecting and what students is expecting. But there should be a alignment between the goals that you are expecting and what you are looking in terms of the students development. So that is called the clarity of the goals. That is always be there as far as the topic is concerned, right? So that is what is needed. Then align with industry and societal needs. Obviously, whatever curriculum, whatever subject, whatever degree that we are designing, we must need to ensure that students should have the validity of the degree first. And even after the validity of the degree, we must need to ensure that we must produce the talents in the market, which have the requirement in the industry, and society at a whole is demanding those people, right? So aligning with the industry and societal needs is also one of the key component as far as the outcome-based education is concerned. We must design, we must develop our curriculum and education, which is completely related to the outcome-based, right? So outcome-based education system needs to be designed. Then we have to have map program outcomes, as I already mentioned. Whatever curriculum that we are designing, we have to map with the program outcome, what your program is running, because ultimately program outcomes are at the apex level. So whatever syllabus, whatever subject that you are defining as a part of the curriculum of the students, the subject is having certain requirements in the industry and the market, and that subject is itself has certain message to pass on to the market, that if student is opting this particular course, let's say if I'm talking about finance. So if in my MBA program, if some student is opting for finance subject, so that the name of the subject is a program outcome, that if students is opting this particular course, then they would be able to have the financial terminologies to be understand. They would be able to consult the people for the financial needs and goals, right? So they would be a financial consultant, right? So the basic goal, basic outcome is to have financial efficiency, right? Under this financial management courses, there are certain units, right? Out of that, this is a course, right? So that course is having particular outcomes, and these course outcomes should ultimately align with program outcomes. Like if you are your MBA program, so under the MBA program, finance is one of the key component in management, right? So if students is going for this, so program outcome is the managerial efficiency. So students can achieve the managerial efficiency by learning various financial techniques, by understanding various financial terminologies, right? So that should be alignment of the curriculum and the learning outcome. So this is how the entire system is working, and through which we have to work upon, right? So this is how the channel is going on, right? So course outcome and program outcome needs to be mapped and aligned with each other. Then plan instructional strategies, right? So instructional strategies means if at all you are doing some instructions to the students, we also needs to plan certain instruction strategies, that how you are going to instruct them, how the students will perceive those instructions, mode of delivery kind of things, right? So if at all you want to inform students for certain important messages, certain important updates related to the subjects or curriculum, then how we will proceed with this kind of things. So you have to plan out certain instructional strategies as a part of the outcome based education, because you should not lose the momentum, because if the instruction has not been given at the right time, at the right platform, then the right outcomes that we are expecting from the students would not be able to get able. So by looking at this and by putting these things into center point, we also need to plan certain instructional strategies through which we can instruct our students, and by instructing them, we could be able to take the submissions at the right time on the right platform, and we would able to successfully complete all the assessment and evaluation aspect as far as students development is concerned, right? So we have to plan instructional strategies. Okay, then define cognitive level. Cognitive level means how much difficult that we are able, how much difficulty level that we want to put as far as students concerned, right? As far as student development is concerned, the level of difficulty that we want to put up, right? So that is called cognitive level. How we are designing the syllabus, and with that syllabus, how we are forcing students to think on different parameters, how we are able, how we are making them to think about it, how we are helping them to improve their critical thinking ability. So that is where we have to define the cognitive levels, right? So how students can be able to maintain their cognitive level, right? So we also need to define the cognitive levels. So that is where we have to define the cognitive level. That means the level of difficulty we need to see to it, and how innovation and the skill-based education needs to be imported so that students would have the better clarity in terms of practical approach by aligning the theoretical concept. That is where the understanding would be at the next level in comparison to the other universities and institute, if we are genuinely following this kind of practices, right? So that is where we have to define the cognitive levels. Then we have to differentiate between knowledge, skills, and competencies. So there is a thin line of difference between knowledge, skills, and competencies. So knowledge is when you are gaining certain knowledge through theoretical aspects, some instructional mode, right? That means you are knowing this particular concept, you have heard this concept, you must be aware about this terminology and concept, right? Skill means you know certain things, you know how to execute certain things, but you are not able to align them with the theoretical aspect, or you can say that whatever efforts that you know it, you are not able to put into the right kind of mode of practices. Although you know it, but there is no person who has guided you that if you are doing this, then this is going to happen. Although you know how to process, right? So that is called skills. Nobody has teach you, but you know it, but you don't know how to, align or synchronize your efforts into right directions, right? So that is called skills. You have practical abilities, but you don't know how to make it in a professional manner. But competencies, you have a skills, you have a talent, but at the same time, you have also seen and checked the market potentiality. You have also seen the various way out through which you can enhance your skill, through which you can marketize your skills, and through which you can take the benefits out of the market. That is called differentiate between knowledge, skills, and competencies, right? So you have to differentiate between these three aspects. That is, what is knowledge, what is skills, and what is competencies. And to do this, all this aspect, you have another aspect is appropriate assessment methods. If you are doing all these practices in terms of, defining goals, designing curriculum with industry and societal needs, with having map program outcomes and course outcomes, have we different mode of delivery of the sessions, to delivery of the subjects by putting cognitive level of syllabus and content. But if you don't have a right kind of assessment techniques, right, whether whatever things that you have imported in the minds of students through the different modes of delivery and through different tools and techniques, but if students could not be able to digest into right manner, right, then your entire approach, your entire efforts is not going to in the right direction, right? So that is where you have to define that you should have the appropriate assessment method, right? So you have to define and choose the appropriate assessment tools and techniques. Then you have to use rubrics for transparent evaluation, right? So rubrics is kind of things that whatever syllabus that you are designing, right? So before enrolling students, you should have your evaluation pattern, evaluation categories. That if students are coming into 100 to 90 category, then it should be awarded as A plus, right? 80 to 90 A, right? 70 to 80 B plus, and so on. So you have your grading criteria, right? And to achieve those grading criteria, what are the assignments? What are the parameters that students need to fulfill to complete that degree, and to get awarded as far as this particular degree and course is concerned, right? So you have to see that what is the demand of the course, and to achieve those demand of the course, how you will execute all your functions. That is where the rubrics is, right? So this rubrics needs to be transparent and focused, and it is as per the industry standards, right? So that is where the rubrics needs to have the proper evaluation pattern. And for this, you always have to take the, you must have your BOS, government body, academic councils. Under that, you are taking the help of industry people. So whenever you are designing this kind of rubrics and all this pattern, you should always have the consult with the industry people, and you should ask them the needs and requirement, and according to that, how to set those needs and requirements into academic standard, and based on that you should try to put into the practices, right? So that is where the rubrics and things needs to be evaluated. Students and faculty feedback, obviously it is much important, that students and faculty feedback in terms of curriculum. Even you can ask the students to give the feedback for the faculties also in terms of mode of delivery, right? See, nothing is like, if you are taking some help, or you are taking the opinions from other, you are not asking them to criticize you, but it is always a scope of improvement, right? If somebody is giving you a genuine feedback of yours, right, so it will help you to improve yourself, right? So you always look forward, you always looked at your feedback, the critics that you have it. So this kind of things will always help you out to improve yourself. And it, most importantly, this feedback will help you out whether you are a student or faculty, in terms of improving the mode of delivery of the session if you are a faculty, and if you are a student, then it will help you out to improve your learning potentiality. And in both the cases, people are on the beneficial side, right? So students' feedback should be taken from the faculty. Faculty feedback should always be taken from the students. So it's a give and take things, right? So you will receive the right kind of things, which is actually needed to be improved and execute. So that is where we can enhance and improve our efficiency. Review and update the curriculum. Every time, again and again, on timeline basis, you have to review and update your curriculum. Curriculum needs to design as per as the requirement and standards of the industry, and you should always have the one or two industry people in the consultation as far as when you are sitting for the development of curriculum. And at the same time, we should also involve the students sometimes if they are going for certain industrial visit or internship program, where they are actually reviewing the process that they are learning, right? You can also take the alumni of that particular universities and institute. So they would be better people because they have recently passed out and recently joined the academic industry. So they have actually noticed the difference between theory and practicality. So they would be able to decide, they would be able to guide us to bridge the gap between the knowledge and application of knowledge in terms of curriculum design. So this will help you out to provide more application-based content and education that will help the coming students in terms of their career development, right? So that is where the outcome needs to be achieved. Then we also have to see this, integrate soft skills and interdisciplinary learning. So obviously, we cannot say that my department, my program will run independently, because nowadays the interdisciplinary approach needs to be adopted, where you should not focus only on the knowledge and skills of your area or domain, but you should also increase and enhance your hands into interdisciplinary approach to have a better working styles, better working ability, and to generate the better results. You should also need to understand the sentiments and emotions, requirements, parameters of the other disciplines also. So what happens is, if you understand those parameters into interdisciplinary manner, you would be able to link your work with other department, and that will able to help you out to get the better results in the coming future, right? And at the same time, soft skills is always going to help you out in whichever field you are. Soft skill is always going to work in a positive manner as far as the teaching fraternity is concerned. So yes, obviously we have to work on it. Integration of soft skill development and interdisciplinary approach of learning. Then we also need to provide the opportunities for practical applications. As I already said, knowledge is not a power, but application of knowledge is power. So whatsoever curriculum, knowledge, lectures that we are delivering, but if the students, we are failed to understand the students in terms of real-time applications, real-time assignments, then I think the purpose and objective of the new era of education is somehow missing, is somehow lacking. So that is where we have to work upon it, and in that directions we have to take certain actions, right? So that is where we have to provide certain opportunities for them. Assessment strategies, if we are needs to assess that what is the strategies. So you can see this Bloom's taxonomy, obviously, when we are talking about course outcome. So I hope you all are aware about it, that we are designing course outcome with the Bloom's taxonomy. So these are the words that you can always utilize as a part of the course outcomes, which is ultimately aligned with the program outcomes, right? So Bloom taxonomy is one of the greatest tools that every education institute and universities are using. So the first is create, so produce new or original work. So whatever curriculum that we are designing, it should not be copy and paste from the other universities and institute, but I'm not saying that content should not be copy paste, but you should you should have your need assessment as far as curriculum design is concerned, right? Because the institute of others and yours, the need should not be same. Although the content should be same in somehow 70-80%, but how this content needs to be framed as per the requirement of your university, that you are the better person by having the keen observation in terms of the requirement of the students and industry. So according to that, we have to frame it out, right? So that is where create new and original work. Syllabus should be new, original, and the combination of different universities according to the need-based assessment. Once you have created those syllabus and parameters, we should have the evaluation techniques, right? In terms of having some decisions, in terms of appraising it, or in some content, you should also have your own arguments as far as to achieve and fulfill the goal of the students and ultimately the vision of the university. So argument doesn't need to a negative sense, but if you feel that this is not going to work out for the students or it is not going to help you out for the students, then you should always define those parameters. And defending is not an argument if it has been done in the right intentions, right? And based on that appraising, argument, defense, you should have a judgment finally on a unanimously. It's not like that, being a faculty, if I'm sitting in the discussion of academic council, and if somebody is opposing certain things that so you will take it in a personal way, right? But we should take it in a very neutral way, that actually by looking at all the arguments, we need to decide at that point of time also, have I thought about on this parameter which others are putting into the practice? If no, and if you feel that yes, I need to think about it and that should be justified and modified, then you should accept it that you are somewhere going into wrong practice, and that is where the multiple opinion needs to be taken up to have into right track, right? So that is where the evaluation needs to be done. Analyze in terms of what you have a discussion of your own syllabus. Again, you have a comparison with the other syllabus. So analysis needs to be done. Let's say if this is a course outcome of this program, right? So whatever the content that we have given as a part of the students' learning process, so we should also able to answer that, is it going to useful for the students? Is it going to help us students to achieve the goals in terms of industry standards, and the parameters? If yes, you must continue. If no, then you should have a second thoughts, right? So that is where analyze needs to come into practices. Then you need to apply, right? So apply means whatever new things that you are learning, you should apply those concept practices into real-time applications, right? So that is where you should also develop certain sketches, certain models, certain practical assignments, through which students can apply their own minds, concept, deliveries, and through which we would be able to achieve your goals, right? Then understand. You need to understand in terms of explaining ideas or concept, right? So you have to discuss with peers, industry people, students also. Sometimes you should also ask the students or alumni, as I already said, that what is new things is going into the practices. Are you doing this, following these practices? The students are comfortable with that. If yes, you should continue. If no, you should have a brainstorming and you should ask for the suggestions even to the students also, right? So students are the best, greatest feedback providers, as far as our education system is working in the right directions or not, right? So you should always have the system, you should always have a contact with the students even after the completion of the degree, through which you'd always get a feedback, and this feedback will always help you out to improve your system, by having real-time applications, with the various modifications that we are observing in the market. And once we have tried and tested all those things, we have already applied it, we have already analyzed it, right? And based on that, we have also evaluated those things. And finally, we would be able to apply the right kind of practices that we need to apply in the syllabus of the students. And that's where we would actually able to meet the expectations of the market. And the moment we are able to meet the expectations of the market, then must believe that the students are also enjoying this curriculum, the mode of delivery of the faculties, subject, and then most importantly, after completion of the degree, if they are going for the placements, they would have a better platform to prove their talent, skills, and through which they would be able to get the better placements, and they could enhance their life in a better practices. And most importantly, the students are getting placed into the right companies with the great packages. The universities and college should always take a pride and have the great alumni associations after that, which would help you out to enrich your universities and institute, and to make your richness outside the market. That's where the visibility of the university is going to be enhanced, right? That is what, this is what we have to see to it and needs to understand. This is how the outcome-based education is going to helpful to you here. Okay. So now we have to see this, what is formative and summative. So formative means it helps students to learn and practice, and summative means it only assess the performance of the students, right? So we are here to discuss about, the formative education system and not the summative, because we are here not to have just evaluating the students' performance, right? But we are here to help the students, and we are also here to help the students to learn and practice those parameters. So formative says that throughout the course, you have to have, your observations, your output, and this observation and output will help you out to build the right kind of process. Right. In summative, if it talks about, then it always ends off an instructional period. So it's just like a basic monotonous classroom, traditional teaching methods that we are teaching and doing it, right? So it is not going to much useful. It is not going to much beneficial to the students community. So we should always avoid this kind of practices, and we should always focus on summative rather than formative. Formative identifies the gap and improves the learning. So obviously we should keep updating, we should keep improving by having self-observation, and through which we can improve our teaching and learning ability. That is where we need to identify the actual gaps, right, where we have to work upon and how we should improve our practices. And summative means collect evidence of the students' knowledge and skills. We just collect evidence of the students and knowledge and skill in terms of just organizing one or two events, providing them prizes and works as done. It is not going to work out, right? So we have to continuously work on it, and we have to provide the right kind of practices at the right platform so that the students would be at the better places. And formative is basically, right, is on the continuous process, right? The basic focus on the formative teaching learning process is on continuous process. It never ends. Even today we have received a good result. That doesn't mean that we do not need for the scope of improvement for tomorrow. We keep updating ourselves, we keep moving up, and with that consideration, we should always go ahead, right? So this is what it's called formative, right? So formative and summative, there is a difference. But summative is only focused on result. You have arranged one conference, one seminar, irrespective of the things, quality that you have it. You have just provided the one person you feel to be right, irrespective of the process, right? Focused on the process, need of the society, right? You just provided them the end results, and you are not meeting up the expectations of the market. You are not concerned about the process. We have just finished the process. So this is kind of education system is not working out as far as when we are talking and discussing about the right kind of output for the society. So the cone of learning is, right, if we are seeing that is how the students would be able to learn it, right? So what is important is, there is one Chinese proverb which says that I'll read it, I may forget, right? I'll read it, I may forget, right? You can see on the screen, I'll see, I forget, right? So whatever you are seeing in mind, you might forget because you are not practicing at a time, right? But if you hear something, right, just now you are hearing this session, so there would be certain words, certain parameters, certain concept that you feel to be interesting. If you are listening properly, then there would be a chances that you remember those things. But at the same time, like me, if I'm doing this practice right now, to delivering the session at outcome-based education, so there would be a possibility that now I understand what is outcome-based education system, right? By looking at all the parameters, by taking into consideration and, by putting them into real-time practices, right? So that is where if you do things, you will try to understand the problems. And if you came into the notice of the problem, you will actually find out the way to solve the problem. So that is where very, very important that we should involve the students into real-time practice of all the academical concept curriculums. We should design our curriculum in such a way that whatever concept which is important for the development of their life, placements, career oriented, we should put them cap over there, by putting them into practical exposure of the learning and evaluation. And that's where we should enhance the ability of the students, right? And this particularly, pyramid has been given by Edgar Dale in 1969, right? So this research has already happened in 1969, right? So this, the angle is working, the effectiveness. So if you are reading only 10% of the content that you read, you would be able to remember. But if you are hearing those content by having the speakers from, so there would be a chances that the efficiency will increase double. That is 20% you will remember out of the 100% content, right? But you are hearing it and you are saying it. Both the things are happening together. So then combinedly it will be 30%, right? That actually the content is. Now let's see that if you are framing those things into, practical exposures, like, I'm seeing the practical process, so watching a movie on YouTube's or any other documentaries that you are having in terms of which presenting a live demonstration of the concept, then it would be a chances that 50% of the concept that you are seeing and hearing, you would be able to remember, right? So that is where 50% chances that you will improve your efficiency. Then if you involve yourself into the discussion of the talk, right, that is called group discussion, right? So we are also arranging one of the FDP where, innovative teaching and learning pedagogies, we are discussing one of the practices called group discussion. So what is the benefit of this group discussion is, so forget about reading and all such aspects, but you are sitting with multiple people to discuss on particular topic, right, as per your industry and domain area. So the major benefit that we are receiving in out of it is we are meeting with multiple peoples and multiple talents at the same platform. So benefit that we are receiving out of this practices is, right, we are having the opinion, we are having the knowledge of multiple brains on the same topic at the same place, right? And that's where we would be able to catch the maximum topic into practical manner with live demonstration, example, confirmation from the different people who are a part of this discussion and talk. And that's where we would be able to catch better way, in terms of receiving the confirmation from the other people, right? So this is a psychological way, right? If you're reading and listening things, you will not remember. But the same thing is happening in terms of live demonstration, like discussion on the table, right? So that's where you will be able to catch those things because your mind is, continuously get activated to defend those arguments or to listen those arguments curiously, right? So curiosity is at the apex level. So 70% of the content you might be remember what has been discussed. And the same thing, whatever you are learning, seeing, watching, but the same practice you are trying to inculcate into the real-time application and practices by going into companies for internship or even after the placement you are reporting at your job places. And that's where the learning and the knowledge that you are getting it, I think no students are getting in universities and colleges. So at least if we know it, then we should demonstrate those our parameter into best practices that students should at least visit 1 or 2 times into live portal, whether it is life science, whether it is management, whether it is engineering, technology. We should allow them to practice the live things which they have to practice by considering this particular subject after their graduation and post-graduation degrees, right? So this is called cone of learning, which was given by Edgar Dallin in 1969. So this is one of the demonstration of rubrics, which I have already discussed. So whatever fundamental and concept that we are deciding as a part of their teaching learning process. So we should also define that, what criteria out of this curriculum is taken into consideration as far as outcome-based education is concerned for the students in terms of their overall development. So these are the few criteria example which I have given, that if I have designed certain curriculum and subject, so that subject is focused on subject knowledge and matters. It also focused on critical thinking, communication, applications of knowledge. So these are the parameters which I have taken care as far as the designing of the syllabus is concerned. And those things have been, I have incorporated into the rubrics form, right? And if at all students is able to secure certain marks in this parameter, then we should evaluate them that he's good in terms of knowledge. If student is achieving certain marks in this parameter, we can evaluate that he's excellent in terms of critical thinking. So there should be some benchmark in terms of course outcome and program outcome. With that, we should align those criteria with the program and our course outcome. And with this consideration, we will also have some assessment parameters. And with that assessment, we should be able to grade our students in terms of excellent, very good, good, needs to work, and poor categories, right? And we should also pass on the message to the parents that if he or she is falling into this criteria with this gradings, then what exactly his understanding is talking about. And that should be reflected to the industry people also. And they would be able to judge your efficiency and skills based on the industry requirement that they have it. So it will help them to catch out the right kind of talents at the right platform. Right. So if any institute is following this kind of practices, they are actually helping the industry and students to differentiate between the quality and the students who is average. And that's where you are putting the difference in the market. And that's where you're actually providing the outcome-based education by helping the society as a whole. So this is a rubrics, right? And this is a grading system in rubrics that, if students is achieving 90 to 100% excellent, 80 to 90% is very good, 70 to 80% is good, 50 to 70% needs to work, and greater than 50 is poor. And if at all they are having this kind of grading system, so what it exactly is measuring? So if it is excellent, then all important information adequately delivered and shows proficient understanding of the subject matter, right? So this is the message. If somebody is looking the grading card of the students, so they would be able to understand that what this subject, what this degree is, what this subject is, what this curriculum is, and what this result is, and how to, how to align the result, curriculum, subject, and degree into the real-time practices when we are actually here to hire them into the corporate. So this is a message that needs to pass on to the industry people, that we have designed this course in this manner, where we have focused on this approach. And this approach we have executed in this manner. So if students have been getting this grade, so he or she is good in this aspect, and he or she is not good in this aspect. So this is how this grading system, curriculum needs to be designed through the rubrics. Very, very great and important tools in all the universities and institutes. So this is self-assessment of rubrics, right? So assessment forms, peer assessment, right? So these are the various techniques that we must utilize as a part of self-assessment, self-evaluation part, and through which we could improve and we should enhance our skills and talents. So these are the assessment form, learner, approach, right? So approach should be student-centered, right? So if you are going for self-assessment and peer assessment, so these are the most important criteria, right? And information should always be, gettable from the target audience, that is nothing but the students, right, and the industry people, right? So that is where peer assessment needs to be focused on the industry people who can provide the right kind of needs, and and that needs to be incorporated by every university and institute at the right time and right platform. So portfolio assessment, right? So these are the parts that we have to, process assessment, authenticity of the content needs to be checked. Does it integrating approach in terms of theory and practicality, right? So that is where the integration between those things could be possible. Are you providing certain autonomies to the learner, and that should be reflected in terms of the responsibilities. Are you motivating them for learning, enhance writing performance? right? So these all are the part of portfolio assessment that we have to do. So competency-based assessment. So if you are doing this practice, then it will help you out to improve clarity and transparency in the curriculum with students and the industry people. More seamless personalization. So yes, more personal growth will be achieved for every individual students if we are putting this approach into the practices. We should also help them to shift towards the culture of assessment. So yes, we are also guiding students that you should always align and incline towards the culture of assessment, because this assessment will help you out to improve your performance, and it will also show you the right kind of mirror where you are standing at your college life. And that is where you have to continuously improve yourself, because this is a practice where you can improve continuously, because once you are out in the market, in the industry, you have no scope of improvement. You have to do the improvement by going at your home. You are not having a time, because you have to perform your task at your job place. You are not here having a time to see yourself and to identify your mistakes. Whatever mistakes you need to commit, do it right now at the university, and go into companies and industry with more refined manner by taking the help of the assessment techniques. So we should culturize student fraternity to be habituated with the assessment process, and students should better understand their own learning profile, and through which, if they are inclined towards the culture of assessment, that means they are looking at each other, they are comparing each other, they are asking each other, they are taking help of each other, they are observing each other, and they are making competition with each other. That is called competency based assessment. We don't have to do it. The system is going to be auto generated. The results will come automatically if this practice needs to be incorporated. So that is where we have to focus upon. Benefits and challenges. So clear learning objective is the ultimate benefit of outcome based education. Aligned with industry needs. So obviously we are working for industry, and student needs to go into industry. So only education will not work if they are not taking into consideration the requirement of the industry. Student-centered approach is always there. Not only that we are favoring to the students, but we should also help them to achieve a right kind of platform and right kind of goals in terms of, by career developing their careers into right manner. Continuous improvements, obviously assessment, comparisons, critical thinking, see their problems, identify the mistakes, and see the scope of improvement. And assessment and evaluation. Challenges is learner related. Sometimes students are not prone to have their career oriented. So it is very difficult for the students to guide them into right direction. So obviously this challenge cannot be avoided. And there might be sometimes they are also spoiling the other students' career, right? Because students are immature at a time. So until and unless if students are not taking serious to the faculty, it is difficult for the faculty also to, convert them into right directions. Institution related, sometimes certain institutions are having lack of infrastructure and technical facility. So in this case, it is difficult to achieve the outcome based education. And teacher related, if the teachers are not prone to learn and enhance their ability, then it is difficult, because nobody will come to your place and guide you. But because it is the students who can actually take the initiative and can do it. So if teacher is not proactive, then this challenge is always going with the universities and institutions. So best practices, AI tools for teaching. You can go for Maths AI tools for finding resources. Cross-check AI, Skyspace Copilot. If at all you are finding, any papers, corpus, or any papers you want to find it out, you can always find from Skyspace Copilot platforms, right? So these are the various platforms that you have to see to is Compose AI. So these are the extensions of the Google that we should always ask to use. So that is what from my side. So if I'm making this platform open for question answer, if you have any questions, you can ask me. I will be able to answer. Yes, yes, madam, you can ask your question. Yeah, anyone is having any questions, please ask. Any questions, anything you need to share on this topic? Any practical difficulties, any practical success that you have achieved? So you can share it right now. Because sharing will always help you out, as a part of outcome-based education. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, but anything you want to share it on this common platform, so you can unmute yourself and you can share or ask.
Kunal sir, I have a question.
Yes, madam.
Yes, I am from Indore and I am a faculty with one of the premier institutes here in Indore.
Okay.
The thing is that you said that yes, placement is one of those criterias where we need to, where we actually see the effectiveness of our outcome-based education. But in practicality and for all the reasonable reasons, it's rarely seen that what we make students learn is actually being used in the industry. So as you said that we should incorporate as many industry specialists while designing the curriculum, but would you agree or would you not agree that it is really very difficult to have their inputs incorporated into a syllabus?
See, syllabus needs to be in a manner it has to be, right? Here is a discussion about whatever syllabus that we are teaching, as a part of their curriculum, so how we can cap them in terms of, executing that curriculum into real-time practices. I'm not saying that, they are asking certain things that we should be a part of the syllabus. Obviously, we should give some 10-20% part of the syllabus. But apart from that, whatever content, at least we should ensure them, by showing them the curriculum that, yes, this is a curriculum, right? So what content that you feel it outdated, right? So, and out of this outdated content, what is the new innovation and new concept that we should give a platform, right? So that is what we need to ask them. Just like, in terms of technological aspect, or if at all we are from management, right? So right now the generation of AI. So who is thinking about that? That you should not inculcate the AI to be the part of curriculum. Now it has to be part of curriculum. So if AI came into the practice, so something has gone out of the market. So that concept which is completely gone out, which is completely outdated, that we need to remove. That is called improvement. And even if AI is a part of it, so there is a difference between the theoretical aspect and practical aspect. And sometimes as a practicality, we are also going to teach them certain topics on AI. But we should also ask them the industry, how they are using those AI tools. Is it actually utilizing in industry? If yes, then how? So at least we should try to inculcate those one or two demonstration to the students into the classroom. And if it is possible for certain content and topic, we should also advise them to go into industry and perform those tasks if it is possible, and where we can give the platform. So here is the discussion is, we should not completely carry out our academics and curriculum to be on theoretical and exam classroom teaching learning mode. Wherever it is possible and wherever scope of improvement, we should always try and inculcate those practices so that the students and industry both should be on the beneficial side.
Thank you so much.
Sir, may I say?
Yes, please.
Sir, while you were discussing this Bloom's taxonomy, I just have a little query. We read that from bottom to top approach, but you started that top to bottom approach. So why is that? Because
See,
that is made for bottom to top approach.
I want to come to the conclusion. I want to conclusion of outcome-based education. I know it always starts with top to bottom and bottom to top, right? So I have started with top, I know it, but I want to come to the conclusion, right? Because there are other psychological parameters, which we have to take into the practices as far as learning ability and catching power of the.
But sir, the problem with the top is that without anything we have to start, we have to create. When the Bloom says that, Bloom gives the 6-7 steps that how to create, and you started with the creation.
I'm not discussing on Bloom, sir. I'm saying that you should incorporate Bloom. I was not teaching you what is Bloom taxonomy is. I was just teaching you how Bloom taxonomy content should be aligned with outcome-based education. So that's what I'm discussing with you people. I was not discussing what is Bloom taxonomy, how it started, how it ended. That was not my parameter. I agree with your point. I'm not saying that, you are wrong. But my purpose was teaching is not like what is Bloom taxonomy and all this aspect. I'm teaching that outcome-based education should also be achieved with the help of Bloom taxonomy. Right, so we
Thank
should
you, sir.
utilize those parameters. So that is what I was teaching you
Oh,
as
thank
a
you, sir.
part of
Thank you, sir.
course outcome and program outcome.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, so I think no questions. Thank you so much for all the audience. Thank you so much. Yes, madam,
So
please.
there's one question that I can see in the chat box been given by Ramya. Ramya, if you can just answer to that.
See, it is a role of teachers that we should put the students into common platform first of all, right? We should have some, if you feel that you should differentiate those students, so obviously we should have to balance the approach with the level of students that we have it, right? But if you have certain things that you need to work out, then there are two aspects that we need to work out. Let's say if the students are at the greatest level, so we should incorporate related to that particular subject in terms of some boutique courses. So the students who are great in terms of their knowledge and skills, so they should get the benefit out of it, first of all. And if you feel that there are certain students who are below graded, which they are not able to understand the basic curriculum, so for which you should always align the remedial classes, personal counseling, mentor-mentee relations, right, as per EICT norm. So that practices you should counsel them the problems and try to bring out the certain solutions, so that we should put all those people onto common platform, right? I hope I have answered the query, Ramya madam. Right, so mentor-mentee relations, personal counseling, coaching, that should be provided to them. And if you feel that there are certain students who should have a polishing treatment, then you should go for boutique courses with focus on more practicality, skill-based education. So they should be the part of it. So those who are interested, they should enroll for the courses, which is called vocational kind of courses also. Yes. Yeah. Any more questions? I hope Nidhi madam, you are agree with that. Still, if any doubts any people is having, so they can ask.
Yes, sir, perfectly all right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for this fruitful session, and I hope it will be really helpful for our participants also. And thanks to all the participants for being good and cooperative listener. So